Good morning. Thank you so much for joining NSSF Financial Literacy. This is one of those days when we come to you and say we are converging ourselves into class. We are getting back to class. We are getting back to the school of money. Mboa Apple is my name, and as has been ordained, I am the headmaster of this school of money. These next 2 hours, we take ourselves back to school and we say, let's discuss money. Let's discuss money like students. Let's discuss money like lifelong learners. And I am your headmaster, sir. Today we have quite an exciting panel. And I am privileged for them because everyone who enters my classroom now has to address me as headmaster, sir. So I'm one of those persons who can say, I have made it. I have made big people call me sir at the beginning and sir at the end. Thank you so much. We always, as NSSF, it is our purpose to make savings a way of life, and we'll continue speaking about money. We'll talk about money. If it is something that will take us to hell, then we are already there. But I know money is not going to take us to hell. It is the lack of it, poverty, and the love of it that may take you to hell. We are going to discuss diversification, but as it is, my job is the simplest. It is usually to tell you why do we do this as NSSF, and to keep you a little bit of the reminder. As NSSF, we are doing well. We are not doing this for publicity. We are doing well when it comes to our mandate. We are not going to be rationalized soon because our mandate is still out there, and our mandate is to pick money from you, keep it away from you, and when you qualify, give it to you. While we keep it, we grow it. And we are performing on that mandate. We are getting stars. We are getting five stars. We are getting good ratings on that mandate. But we feel it is not just about mandate. And if we keep performing on that mandate and we give you the money, which is your own money, and that money does not help you, that money is not of purpose to you, then as NSSF we would have failed on our purpose. We are getting here to just understand that it's not just about us doing the mandate, but we need to work with you to make sure that you do not lose this money. So we get into these conversations to trigger, to challenge your thinking, because you don't lose money at 55. You have been losing money since 23. Every time salary comes in, salary goes out. You are losing money. Your muscles, your fatigue, your financial muscle is used to getting money in the bank and losing it. Every month you've been doing this, and you have done it for the last 30 years. When you get your NSSF, you have devolved your financial muscle in such a way that it can't survive not being lost. So we are coming to you and we are trying to challenge that, and we are saying, let the gym work be different. So today we are going to discuss diversification, but we need to know, who do we have? Who are you? What are you? Why are you here? And I will ask the back office team to kindly share that information, that poll, and then we understand for us to be able to articulate this message for our panelists. Let them share that, and then I can proceed to the next item. Back office, if you're kind enough. But while they do that, allow me to just have a few remarks. While they do that, and you can just wait 2 minutes or 5 minutes to post that. I just have these few remarks, and then we do that last, and I go away. When you stop, number one, when you stop learning, you start dying. When you stop acting, you start declining. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to just share a few of the last 10 months, what I learned from each of those months. And in January, I learned that when you stop learning, you start dying. Most of us are moving around and we are already dead. We get into meetings and no one can see us. Someone looks around in a meeting room and they say there are no people when you are there, because you died. To the people, you died because you stopped learning. Ladies and gentlemen, as you embrace next year, as we go to January, start thinking, embrace learning. That is going to keep you alive. Your problems are your problems. In February, I learned that. While you are complaining that there is no money, I can't take my children to school, I learned in February that there are actually people who are putting up buildings. So your problems are entirely your problems. Do not generalize. Do not say money is lost. People, we don't have money. This money, this economy, no, it is just your pockets. And Individualize your problem so that you can find an individual solution. Do not look out for public solution for your individual problems. Your problems are your problems. Your children are your children. Stop giving out your children to the basa. You take back your child and you tell the basa, I've brought back your child. No, it is not their child. It is your child, and it is your obligation for you to have school fees. The world owes you nothing. That is what March gave me. That the world owes you nothing. You are on your own. And once you understand that and you start acting as such, the world will then align towards you. The world will align. No one wants to align with a person who is always crying, with a person who is always in despair. Understand that you are on your own and start working as such, and then everyone would want to work with you. You will then have a team. Do not get into that team as the weaker part of that team. Number 4, that was Apple. Learning is for grown-ups. You can easily grow old, but you fail to grow up. There are so many people who have grown old, but have not grown up. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use French. Start taking decisions of grown-ups. Start doing things of grown-ups. There is no grown-up that has no saving. If you have no saving, you have not grown up yet. Yes, you are 50, but you are not yet grown up. You are just old. That was March, not me. That was April, not me. What was May? May said there are no bad loans. There is nothing like bad loans. You are crying that bad loans, this was a bad loan. No, they are just bad borrowers. Why did you borrow? What did you use the money for? What you use that money for is what makes you a bad borrower. If you borrow for consumption, you're a bad borrower. The loan is not bad. The money is not bad. But if you borrow for consumption, you're a bad borrower. Borrowing is supposed to be for production. I don't have so much time, so I'll leave it at that. June came in with, you have no business doing business. And I think today our panel is going to handle this. You have no business doing business, doing a side hustle if you are not a performer at your main hustle. You have no business in a side hustle. You have failed to do it, to perform at where you are paid a salary. You have been given a job description. You've been given a supervisor. You've been given training to do that job, but you are still failing to do it. You cannot survive in the place where you are the business, you are the job, you are the job description, you are the trainer. You can't be there. Then July came in with results, not excuses. When July comes in for us, the financial institutions, we are starting the financial year. And that year, when we are starting it, someone came in and told us, this year, our current financial year is for results, not reasons. Most of you have reasons for and excuses for why you are there. You have no results. You are 40 years, 50 years, but you have no results in your life. You just have reasons why you are there. You see, for me, my stepmother, my co-wife, no. What are the results? What is it that you have grown? Because your children are going to ask for results, not your reasons. August. Do not apologize for what you have. If you are successful, do not apologize. Let's take the poverty mentality out, where we are confusing laziness with being humble. Where we start calling out people who are showing us. One of my panelists today is one who goes on social media and shows you what he has done. He shouldn't apologize. And then people say, you weraga whereas. Yes, yeraga because he has. You cannot kweraga when you do not have. Do not apologize. If it anything, please take that step and show people. And take a minute to educate them. September said, we need to build assets more than our liabilities. And in financial literacy, I know here we have one of my panelists is an investment guru. And I'm in a class of accounting, so the accountants also view it differently. Assets are not what do not turn money. Assets are things that bring you money. So you could have your TV. The accountant will designate it as an asset, but is it bringing money? In financial literacy, we call that a possession, not an asset. We call it a possession. Liabilities take money out of your pocket. When you have that house, that huge house in the village, is it bringing money or taking out money? Or it's just a possession? Because you have killed yourself to build that huge house in the village where you only stay during Christmas. And all the rest of the year, you are paying someone to stay in it. redesignate it as a possession, not an asset. Assets bring money into your pocket. October asked me to start thinking of Christmas. And one of my teammates came to me and said, let's turn our Christmas lists into lessons. What is your Christmas list? You have already started listing what you are going to buy, what you are going to do on Christmas. Can you turn those lists into lessons? Ladies and gentlemen, November has not spoken to me yet, and today we want November to speak. But before it speaks, who do we have? Then I can introduce our panel. If you are kind enough, Anna Maria. Good morning, everyone. Did I greet you? Yes, I did. Who do we have? Who are you? What are you? We have quite a number of questions. I don't know if Anna Maria is kind enough or the technical team. Are you able to see? I just need to know if you people out there are able to see those poll questions. They are not kind enough. Question 1, it's about your gender. Are you male? Are you female? We need to know your age bracket. Are you below 40 or above 40? Do you understand what diversification is? Yes or no? Then there is also a little bit. I understand a little bit. Those are our options. Please fill out these. We need it for our panelists to understand how to. Have you undertaken any investment in your life? Yes or no? What asset classes, now they are getting technical, they are bringing in English. What asset classes are you investing in? Treasury bills, unit trusts, agriculture, livestock, real estate, others. Excuse me. Kindly let us know what those are, and then we want to see the results in 5, 4, 3. So our dear panelists, this is who you are going to talk to. 35% of people on this call are females. 65% are males. We had made some tractions. We used to have 50-50, but I will ask Aisha, who is in charge of the female agenda at Financial Literacy, to please call out all the ladies. I'll also call out Farida to call out the ladies to participate in this. 62% are below 40. 38 are above. Do they understand diversification? 9% say no. 47% say yes. 44% say a little bit. Have you undertaken any single investment? 18% say no. 82% say yes. We should have asked them, have you gotten money out of that investment? Then we'll see, but we'll get there. What asset classes are you doing? 14% are doing treasury bills. 41%, this is now a popularity questions. 41% are doing unit trusts. 34% are doing agriculture. So it's a multiple answer question. 10% livestock. 31% real estate. 34% others. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce in my own words, and this is not authoritative. This is as I know these persons, the persons that are here today. This is how I perceive them, but they are going to have a chance, and the moderator is going to have a chance to give the authoritative profile. Our class teacher today, Farida Nakazibwe. Welcome. Farida is a media personality. She's that person, when we grow up, we want to be like her. She has made it. All the ladies I find, they want to be like you. All the men want you. So you are one of those persons who is that person. When they look around in the room, they want to be Farida. And Farida today has graciously agreed to be my class teacher. in this class. Thank you, Farida, for making it. Mr. Galiwango Nkugwa, he's an investment specialist. He's the man, when we are speaking to him, we don't speak English. Actually, when he speaks, we do a lot of listening. He sits here at NSSF. He sits on the 14th floor. That also indicates his salary range. I sit on the ground floor, so you can also understand the difference we have in salaries. But when we find him in the lifts, we keep quiet until he speaks to us, because he speaks investments. He is in charge of 22 trillion at NSSF. And he's also in charge, particularly, of all those things that people keep complaining about, MTN share. He's partly to be blamed for bringing them to Uganda. So today he will tell us, are there any opportunities? And thank you so much, Mr. Galiwango. And finally, Mr. Kachika Muhammad. He's one of the very few people who is more popular than the headmaster. And for that, I need to pick some notes. He has dedicated a bit of his life to do the work that I am supposed to do, and I am appreciative for that, because every year I report his work of teaching. When he teaches people, I go and report it to my board that we are teaching. I get bonuses in his names, because he has taught so many of you. I tell the board that we have taught, and he has been gracious to open up his personal space, his education, his experience to everyone who is ready to listen. Welcome, Mr. Kachika. I find it difficult to call you Muhammad, but since I am Sir Headmaster, Sir. Farida, repeat after me.
Sir Headmaster, sir.
In this classroom, I'm referred to as Sir Headmaster, Sir, so I can also call you Muhammad, I can call you Marvin, and I can call you Farida. Farida, the people are waiting. Diversification. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And Achika, when you gave figures of the ladies, the genders watching us right now, I saw him nod when they said the men are 65%. It's like, I don't know what exactly you meant, but I'm calling on the ladies to please, I know they could be getting ready. You know how we take forever to dress up, to comb our hair, do our makeup. They're getting ready, and eventually they're going to join us. But as we wait for them to join us, good morning, everybody. My name is Farida, and I'm privileged to be here this morning. Trust me, today is one of those mornings where I would have stayed in bed because I'm not feeling well. I got a bad cold in the night and feverish, but I had committed to do this, and I think that's what we should always do. When you commit to do something, please try and make all means to do that. Today we are talking money, finances, and everything investment. And I have a wonderful panel. I'm happy to meet Mr. Kachika finally. He told me we've met before, and I probably didn't take too much note because I hadn't interfaced with him before. Lately, I watch a lot of him on social media, and I must give it to you for choosing to share with especially the youth. These are people who need a lot of mentorship to carry on. Some have lost hope. Some don't even know what to do at all. But giving out your time at your level to make sure you inspire, educate them is wonderful. Once again, welcome to the show. I'll give you these guys' profiles in detail so that you know who exactly we are working with today. Mr. Muhammad Kachika is a long-serving teacher of development and applied economics, both in Uganda and other countries, spanning for over 30 years. He's currently the principal of Vienna College Namugongo, a Cambridge international school. He's a career educationist and an entrepreneur for over 20 years. Now you understand why we have the gentleman on board today. Yes, Marvin here. Marvin Galiwango Nkugwa is a portfolio manager of equities investments at NSSF, the pension fund for private savers. He began his career as an auditor with KPMG before moving on to NSSF as an equities analyst and rising as a portfolio manager. He has a master's in public financial assets, asset management, CFA level 3 candidate, and an SCCA member. He is a Milken Institute fellow, very wonderful guy, an organization that mentors rising fund managers, and he also volunteers as the NSSF SACCO treasurer. It's nice to meet you, Marvin. Actually, when I saw your profile, it didn't look like you're physically you were young to be holding all this, but it's nice to see you finally. We are talking diversification, like you've already been told, and you're wondering what is diversification. Some 7% of the people watching us right now have admitted they have no idea what that is, and this is why these gentlemen are here to guide us. A businessman in America, one of the richest in the world, Warren Buffett once said, and I'll quote, that diversification is the protection against ignorance. Protection against ignorance. His approach to investment is he identifies a business idea and tries to analyze every angle of the idea and then choose to invest in that idea, as opposed to picking this, and that, and invest small monies into small businesses. He thinks otherwise. So as we get into the discussion, I'll begin with Mr. Kachika. What is your take on Mr. Buffett's interpretation of diversification? Or let's start with, what is diversification in your own opinion?
Thank you very much, Farida.
You're welcome.
Good morning, our guests, and I'd like to thank the NSSF for this initiative, which is at the core of my heart. As a teacher, I'm glad Apple has excused himself. He's the headmaster of this
institute.
I wish he had seen the CV right, where the indication is that I'm a school principal. So, yes, the headmaster.
So he's under you.
So as he wanted to be called sir, I think you should have noted that there's a principal in the house.
He hijacked this particular institute. So relax, just obey his orders. Yeah.
And at the same time, the way normally what my heart tells me, allow me, my fellow panelist here, Marvin, to kubongako up a little bit. It's good that I didn't get to know of your qualification before I interacted with you. Of everything that has been mentioned, man, the word CFA level what? Level 3. CFA is Certified Financial Analyst. Yeah, man. You are going to be one of the few in Uganda, a CFA. That, I think, takes you to the point that I follow, financials and understanding, certainly as an educationist and an entrepreneur and a financial literacy enthusiast. So when NSSF requested me to be part of this, I rarely accept. I like the ones that I drive, but the one driven by others, I've accepted. Thank you, Farida. Onto the issue whether it is what I take onto diversification or what I take onto Warren Buffett is, incidentally, I am an ardent follower of all investors. To me, actually, amongst the world's greatest investor is Warren Buffett. Yeah, truly said, is the greatest investor. I think he's 93 or 94.
He's 90.
No, I think I saw the celebration
90 as of today.
90, no, I think I saw that. Well, but Warren Buffett is true embodiment of an investor, an entrepreneur. Incidentally, I try to differentiate between an investor and an entrepreneur. I think Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, is one of the world's greatest entrepreneurs. We can talk about investment. I seem to have drawn a difference between an investor and an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur grows or conceives a certain idea and is very well patient. I see so many world billionaires. This is confusing, actually, the young generation. If Mark Zuckerberg made it at 35 to be in hundreds of millions, what is it that is happening with us why you can't make it? And it confuses them, But the tech billionaires are different from the farming billionaires in a tropical country like Uganda. So they should take a leaf of where they are. And not that they should not look to the horizon, but they should take a leaf of where they are. You can't be a multi-dollar billionaire in an economy that is 45 billion. So certainly, and I don't take it that I don't like so much definitions because I draw my own definition. Now, when we talk about diversification, I do not have to define it as per the textbook. You only need to look at Mohamed Kachika's life, of what he says and what he does, and you understand the concept of diversification. This is a man who tells you that he's in farming. He grows the trees. He has livestock farm. You know, in his income streams, there is coffee, there is bananas, there is the milk sales, there is the manure sales. So that is diversification. Often people think that diversification means to move from one sector to another. You are into the real estate, you have gone into the equities, you have gone into the fixed income, but Mohamed Kachika chose to diversify within the same sector. I diversified within agriculture. I think that should be known today, that diversification does not necessarily mean to invest into this sector and another one. You can still be in the same sector, but you diversify. Can you imagine, even in the tree space? I have eucalyptus trees, I have mosisi trees. Eucalyptus is 3, 5, 7 years. Mosisi trees is 10, 15 years. Then I even have mivule trees that are 100 years. So I diversified even within the tree portfolio, within the agroforestry sector. I still diversified because I know probably I might not have to wait for 10 years to get the money. Eucalyptus, even 1 year and a half, these rafters, you can have them. So diversification to me is to have several income streams coming your way, whether within the same sector or even going into other sectors.
We see you as an agriculturalist, but also you remained active in education. Is that also diversification?
No. In fact, along that line, that is career. I'm a career educationist. In fact, I've taught for the last 35 years. I've taught, I don't know now, it must be in millions of children. And continuously, I've never failed to teach and also earn from my teaching. I've taught in Uganda, I've taught abroad, I taught in Lesotho, I taught in South Africa. So I've taught in several countries. I teach economics of the Cambridge International Curriculum. And mostly I concentrate on econometrics, statistic figures, and then applying them. Yeah. So teaching and education administration, that is a career. In fact, that is something that I would like to share with the public, that you can pursue your career up to the utmost, because I reached the pinnacle of my education career as a school principal, and I've pursued it. But I have pursued it alongside what people call side hustle or side income, which to me is another entrepreneur. The implication is that you can have a career and also have an entrepreneurial spirit, which you also pursue in equal measures without one affecting the other.
Exactly. That is where we should take it from. A good number of the people watching us right now are youth who have probably just got into their careers. They are doing their salary very well. Some have moved a little bit longer and are wondering, at what point of my life, at what point of my career do I now think of a side hustle or diversifying my my income into something even bigger?
I think it should be on day one.
When I enter?
Yes, you should think about it. And I don't mean that people should think about the day they enter their jobs, they think of exiting it. No, I've not exited mine. Or the day they enter the job, they think of having a side hustle. You'll fail in your principal job. But I mean, thinking about it is one way. I've talked about it, that my first month of teaching, someone helped me to set up a shop in Ichikubo. They were small lockers. But I mean, to be precise to another and fair to another person is that please don't rush very fast. First settle in your job. It depends on to what job you are. You know, like a teacher can have holiday and then, but if you're in the military, first become an officer. So, but if you are on this NSSF tower, please don't expect to have a mobile money downstairs and you are leaving your office desk and you're down running to your mobile money. Or you have a food outlet. You know, managing the client's demands might have its toll onto your current job. So I don't want to really to put in terms of years, but I think someone should really feel that I'm reasonably grounded to my profession and my job, that I can afford to have a 5 or 10 minutes off my job and doesn't affect my job.
Okay, what would you advise that person to look at before they decide we are going to get something else to do? How can we make use of, how can we take advantage of opportunities and trends around the world to choose or decide where exactly should I go to?
The reason why I said it must be at the very goal. Like for me, I chose things that I was passionate about or that I had done before. And this is the dilemma of some people. A child grows up in a homestead in Muyenga, being driven to school and back. And this child has never had an exposure of even just planting a bean into the ground. These days, luckily enough, the syllabus is encouraging. This child has never had an entrepreneur. You know, pig bank, they are trying to give them financial independence. But when they break the pig bank, they buy toys. So literally, they are not given. And many of them are given financial products. I've opened up a savings account for you. Well, it's okay. But the real entrepreneur world is not introduced to the children. Nobody is allowing his child to buy sugar cane and sell them, or sweets and sell them to other. You've seen the examples of most prominent business people. You know, they are judged harshly when they say, I started by selling sweets, but I'm now wealthy. People pick that statement per se. But there are some children who are selling airtime in schools, even when it is illegal to have a phone in school. But you find that a child coming to you to claim they have stolen 2.5 million from me. And you say, what the hell were you doing with the 2.5 million? It was my savings. And you ask, what? Savings? Where did you get that savings? When you investigate further, you realize that this child, you remember when there was airtime of scratching, at least as a long-serving teacher, I've noticed that this child was coming with the whatever for scratching and selling to children. So most of the prominent business people, they hatched their business acumen early in life. I would have given examples of my former students whom I saw their entrepreneurial spirit bulging at an early stage. So do not rush because your organization have a staff salary, a staff loan facility. But because you see your friend has been advanced 10 million and has bought an Uber. And the Uber is bringing her some 150,000 weekly. You also rush to get that salary advance loan when you are not reasonably prepared for it. So at what stage should someone start thinking of that? It should not be driven by the availability of capital, but your desire to achieve a certain objective.
All right, we move on to Marvin. Marvin, we are wondering, why is investment fundamental? Why is it a fundamental step in a person's wealth journey?
And continue to do on a daily. So I think probably just to pitch a bit on what Mr. Muhammad said in terms of diversification and probably knowing when to invest and all that. Well, as I grew up, I think one of the things that people don't realize is that sometimes we are victims of not diversifying. So I personally was a victim of not diversifying because I had a father focused on business, but one thing that we never think about is anything can happen. You see, tomorrow someone can die, you can fall sick, and guess what? All the money that you had that was coming easily is no longer coming anymore. So I think one of the things that diversification does is then it breaks our life into different buckets where you have a portion for safety, you do not depend on anything to give you all your wealth at once, because of course that is dangerous. Having learned that myself, you also then learn different ways to spread your needs, your expenses, your income, because then at that point in time, when, let's say for example, I do not pay school fees from my salary, I basically had to set up my another investment portion for that, where I say, you know what, school fees is not coming from my salary. So ideally, you start thinking in a way that at a point in time you need monthly income, which is going to help you pay your bills at home, power bills, water bills, your spending. Then you're going to have other expenses that are going to help you in life, like let's say school fees. Let's say you're investing in things like servicing your cars and things like that. You need to have a different pot for that. Then you also would love to have another pot, ideally, which is giving you what we call perpetual growth. So, as Mr. Muhammad has, he has a farm, he has land, and ideally the perpetual growth that he gets is from owning the land that in 100 years will keep growing and growing and growing without even taking out cash. So I think diversification is very important, but in terms of investing, I think investing is even more important. So I think I'm not that big an entrepreneur, but I'm more of an investor. So my background is in terms of allocating to the best opportunities that are out there. I may not be able to wake up every morning and run a business. As he mentioned, some people have side hustles that are very active. My side hustle or private business is not as active. So because I have decided to pursue a career, which is basically my major source of income and basically my source of capital to invest, that for me, as Mr. Muhammad has said, is probably not an investment, but for me it's an investment, because for me I've decided to invest in my career, which in technical terms we do call it human capital. Like, your brain is also an asset. Yes, you can use your brain. For example, you are in the media. You're using your brain, you're using your talent to speak, and it's creating your income. I studied finance. I'm using my human capital to invest money for people and probably get paid for that. Mr. Muhammad has his ability to teach people. He's passionate about teaching. He's teaching us every day, and that has generated him some income as well.
Selling to the world.
Yes.
Someone out there is thinking, what is the difference between investment and entrepreneur? Some people are gifted enough to be both. They are very active. They'll show up every day for their side hustle or their main hustle, and they're still investing. You can be an investor and an entrepreneur at the same time.
Yes, so definitely you can be an investor and entrepreneur. I think one side of you will basically dominate. So if you look at most of the people who, as you talked about, the billionaires in the world, they were naturally entrepreneurs. And then from the entrepreneurship is when they got the ability to invest. But also one thing that is very important is we cannot know everything. So some of those people who you call investors and entrepreneurs have literally passed on the burden to experts to help them manage that side. For example, you will have a person who has started a business, he sells it in like 5-10 years, and then he puts his money with the fund manager. Our job is to do that. We always believe we're the best, we know best how to use our money. But for example, in my job, we take the 5% and then decide to invest for you. So I think you can be an entrepreneur that can create for you the capital to invest. But ideally, I think one side of you will usually dominate. Yeah.
We have treasury bills, we have stocks, we have shares, and all those technical things that you're very good at. Why should I even think about investing in things like that I'm not in control of? I remember over 10 years ago, they could actually be 15, when this share thing had started booming so hard. Safaricom came, and we were quick. I had just joined serious employment, and I had my 500,000 shillings. I was like, I'm also getting shares. I need to be a shareholder. I haven't kept track at all. They used to send me checks after a certain period of time, and I would look at the money, 15 Kenyan shillings. I just put the check there and ignore. I'm like, what is this now? Did I make a bad choice? Was I right to do this? Is it me who was so lazy to follow up? Maybe I invested into something I didn't even know about. Why should I invest in shares that I don't have control over?
That's a brilliant question. So my first point when it comes to investing in shares, treasury bonds, and bills is treat this investment the same way you would treat investing in land. So when people are buying property, land, they'll give a sizable amount because it's an investment. Now, for example, if you had given money in Safaricom, and that was in 2000, over 20 years ago, the income that has come from that alone, right now it pays, dividend is basically the monthly payment you get out. I mean the annual payment you get out. The annual payment you get out is way more than the price you bought it at. So ideally, I'll give an example. If you bought land at let's say 100 million, and then within let's say 5-10 years, you're getting income of 100 million. That's how good that would be. But also, secondly, when you're looking at buying those investments, also give them the respect of where the money that is coming from them should be kept into them. So you see, when we're doing things like rentals and when we're doing things like real estate or even our jobs or when we're saving, we focus that investment to that bucket. But when it comes to things like treasury bills and bonds, many people, what they get, they consume. Then the next thing they're asking, but this hasn't made me money. I'll give an example. For example, when you buy a treasury bond, let's say the 20-year bond in Uganda, if you reinvest your money, you're more or less guaranteed of doubling it in at least 4 years.
4 years.
Yes. But that is all comes with the discipline, which means you put back the money, you reinvest it, and within a 4 years space, you've been able to double it. And the beauty about it is this is liquid money. So I think it's been underestimated, but it's also an opportunity because as investors know, the best time to get in is when probably not everyone is in. So I've had the chance to be part of this, and I have bought equities myself. I can tell you the bucket that does the fees, that helps me maintain the house and all those things, is from buying things like shares and bonds. So I do not use. So I think ideally it's something that's underestimated, but as I've also mentioned, we all have our strengths. So seek advice, join groups, join circles, join investment clubs, and then you can be able to do it in a better way.
In my case, the one I just told you about, what was my problem? Was it too little money I invested?
That is one, but also in terms of the discipline, probably then you did not reinvest the money and keep track.
Actually, I think there were so many people who wanted to buy, and our monies were cut because I wanted to give in. I wanted to give in 1 million.
Yeah.
They said no, that is too much. We are cutting. The least we can get, the most we can get from you is 500.
Yeah.
So I didn't follow up. I was like, that's a dead deal, and convincing me to now invest in those things has been really hard. No. How do I choose which equity to invest in?
Okay, now that's also not brilliant. I think one of the ways we do choose is, as I've said, you seek advice. So one of the ways that I do it is I'm part of a circle, as I mentioned. So in the circle, we do have people who discuss different things. Sometimes there are people who are strong, like for myself, in terms of equities, I'm very strong. So I can pitch my idea to the committee and then we invest. Now, when you're looking in things like equities, the biggest, most important thing you can do when you're buying shares is the timing. So when do you get in? So just like everything in life, you do not buy it when it's expensive, but many times people may not do that. You usually buy it when it is cheap. So one of the easiest ways to know, which is something that also I've learned from Mr. Buffett, is that when there is noise, that is usually the time to get out.
Noise.
Yes. So for example, just in the previous slide, during the COVID times, many things went up. Gold went up, cryptos went up. But when it became so noisy, everyone on social media was posting that they have this. That's when it went bust. So then the best time to get into is when something is cheap. So another way to look at it is, what income am I getting from it? So the same way you look at rentals, if I build a rent of 100 million and I'm getting 7% return from it, look at the way you're buying a stock the same way. So if they're paying about a dividend annually of, let's say, 10 shillings, and you're buying it at let's say 80, that is 12% guaranteed. And the beauty about it, it is almost the same as investing in a business. Usually, if all goes well, that income increases. So for example, your Safaricom case, when it was 5 shillings, you were probably paying less than 1 shilling in dividend. But as time has grown, it even reached to a point of it will reach 45 shillings a share. And this is what I think people forget about equities. Sometimes we think that 10 years is a long time, but those are just 2 election cycles away. And within those 10 years, you could have built a company that has come from 5 to 45. You could have bought a company that was paying a dividend of, let's say, 100K to you annually, and is now paying you 1 million annually. And this is probably just the same way that we do look at things like land, rentals, our careers. We give them time to grow. So an investment is an investment. You do not treat equities like speculation. You don't buy and sell, buy and sell. As Mr. Buffett says, you go in to invest in a company. Understand the company, know what it does, look at the potential for it to grow, just like you look at how your farm will grow, how your business will grow, and then you buy the right price.
Okay, back to Mohammed. You're well known for your agriculture. And agriculture, some people have tagged it to the old people of old age. The young ones, some fear to join it. Actually, some think it's not lucrative, right? Would you advise to look at age, or what kind of agriculture sector, the agriculture sector, what exactly can I look at depending on my age? Did I say it well? Did you get it? At what age do you advise somebody to get into agriculture, and what particular thing should they look at during that age?
I think one thing that I've noted, or that you've noted, is that I've taken my time off to respond on the social media to most of the comments that are made by the people who are following me. And it has enabled me to really understand a great deal of what is happening. I smiled up a little bit when you were asking Marvin, a monkey, that should we cut that forest? What answer would you expect from the monkey? No, I'm just bringing some humor to the discussion. Now, he's a financial analyst and investor. And as we was talking, I was seeing my children. And I was seeing the corporate, how do you call these young people? Incidentally, that's the trend. And the gender analysis that were given, you saw me smiling. Even the social media platforms where I am, it gives me the same statistics. I don't want to repeat, but as you are told you to do something, I think our sisters and our daughters on that side, they need. And I'm sure the 35% are in the league. And I wouldn't want the discussion to take an elitist approach, because the financial investor, the one who invests into the financial products, is well and good. But you will see comments arising that this was for the educated. Where does that leave us? I think the bulk of the populace. And which NSSF has moved out to bring as many people on board to saving and securing their future wellness. I think the new product, that is the what? The new product, Smart Life, is targeting the welder and the mechanic. And I've seen that many of them have joined. And equally, Farida, what you are asking, many young people, to the contrary, have joined this crusade of mindset change, that agriculture is for the failures. Agriculture is for the uneducated. Agriculture is for the old. Some of the things that have earned me bad reputation somewhere, he's a braggart, is incidentally not knowing that I'm an educationist. I wanted to bring the young hackies on board. When I drive my Mercedes and in a suit to the farm, it was to tell people that you don't have to be in ragtags and you are running onto a back pickup, that you do farming. So, I am a practical educationist, and a successful one for that matter, into driving your message clear. There are so many young people who have seen that they can embark on agriculture. And by the time I'm done from here, Marvin, NSSF equity boss, is going to realize that, by the way, this old man is right. On top of these liquid assets, I need, I think, a backup. Because I don't want to critique those liquid, because shares is not speculation, but share prices rise and falls. I've noted the share market crash, because that's not a fall, it's a crash. Yeah, and you can see a 254 billion, who is that one now? Elon Musk. His net worth can be shaved to a half. And this has happened before. Literally, I'm an economist. It normally happens every after 10 years. It can't keep on rising and rising and rising. People tell you it will double into within these years. But market will find its proper position. Now, as to encouraging at which age people should get, I think I've seen so many youngsters. I think one, he might watch this. He phoned me at Metroplex Nadia yesterday. He was in a Mercedes-Benz latest model, and he parked in the middle of the road. Let me just say hi to you, Mr. Kachika. You've really, he was pounding his music into his Mac. It was still the same music that I subscribed to. I think it was Gangsta's Paradise. It was heaven music, Gangsta's Paradise. No, he will watch this and he never mentioned his name, but he was pounding his music and said, Mr. Kachika, you've done a great job amongst us youngsters. The mindset change. To tell them to move away from speculation and to get into real tangible investment. And this is where it has touched many people's lives, that Mohamed Kachika has reached out to the one who has 400,000, who can plant tomatoes and use it, and through agriculture. And the next time he puts in maize to the elitist, all the financial products that he's talking about, I'm aware. And I also invest in them. I'm sure my children are already online. They are. When you bumped into when I gave you 554, the CFA, because my daughter is on the same. I know what it means. So as for financial products, as a family, you sit down that no, some of these assets, we need to liquidate them into financial products that can assure us, like the NSSF schemes. Like the annuities. I don't know if we do annuities here. Now, at your age, I was already doing annuities. In South Africa, I got onto my annuities in 1992. So I know the annuities at 10 years. And when I was living in South Africa, I had to get my payout. It was called Metropolitan. I think when UAP is the most popular here, but there's Old Mutual. Old Mutual is the owner of UAP, but I was with Metropolitan. Metropolitan is a huge investment arm. Now, at which age should a young person, even at 17? I think I introduce my children right now. My son, my daughter, they have these products, but they also have cows. Now, many young people have actually seen that you can make money out of cows, and they look cute. I've seen so many cute young ladies posing onto the Ankole cattle and even the dairy cattle, and it's fun, but at the same time you are introducing them to where they will become real investors. Agriculture teaches you a great deal. Possibly I've been helped by my career. I never said it, don't invest into the career. You can't serve into the same unfancied area as a teacher for 35 years, and you are not going away. I've been a school principal for 17 years, at least the current position that I'm in. I've sat in there for 17 years, and you discourage people from pursuing their career. My point is, you can pursue your career alongside entrepreneurship. So, as for at what age, it will depend on when you have been introduced to the idea. I've seen so many Ugandans who are working abroad, in the US, UK, Japan, even those that are in the Middle East. They've been wondering where they should invest their meager savings. They can't put up rental houses, real estate. But then they have seen that you buy half an acre, you grow the cow fodder, you can keep 4 livestock, 2 of them giving you milk, 20 or 40 liters per day, and you can make 60,000 per day. So this now has broken the age barrier, has broken the gender barrier, has broken the the status barrier. How I wish I could tell you that many chief executives of large organizations in Uganda have had a word with me to say, Mohamed, you have opened up our eyes. We were investing into a certain area, but we were tying this simple tag of cash flow, which I'm literally using. This technical man will fault me, which I'm using, which the public has come to understand that cash flow means balance your asset portfolio, which this investor here is doing at NSSF. Balance. Do not have only buildings or land that is idle. Balance and have, as he does, have some assets that are bringing in cash. at any time that you need it.
I think sometimes we are not giving, especially when it comes to farming, we are not giving the process time. When a young man of 35, 40 is seated there and listening to Mr. Kachika say all this, Mr. Kachika has over 400 acres of land, and he has his caplot somewhere in Gayaza, and he's thinking, okay, how do you even start telling me about farming where I need chunks of land, which I don't have, not even my mother down in the village does have. So they are thinking, investing in agriculture and putting up a Carento in my plot in Gayaza, which one should I go for? So is it about too much money or too much big land for me to think about agriculture?
Farida, I've broken down this. When you decide to do something, do it well. It doesn't mean I have a lot of time. It's sacrifice. You can check onto my social media platforms whether I have not answered that question from whoever's asked. I have my 100 by 50. It is in Gaza. I'm outside. What should I do? Should I build a rental there, or I normally answer them, you are outside, it is not advisable. If you have the savings, please buy another plot. There was one slogan, buy one plot, second, a third one, buy 5 of them. This is what he talked about, generation, what did you call it? Legacy. The land will appreciate over time. So when you are not around, don't buy a cow. They'll get the skin of from the abattoir and show to you that your cow died last week. So don't buy. So even the idea that build rentals and the rest, people have had their fingers burnt. They take photographs of other people's houses and they keep sending money. So to some who are here, I'm working, I'm one of the busy persons. Should I invest into agriculture? There are some where you'll see, I tell them, no, don't buy the cow. First plant the fodder. Because on this fodder, you can as well even sell the fodder to the people who are having milking cows. Or at the same time, you can, begin the process. So this has nothing to do with the old people with the large chunks of land. I've shown the models. My big farm, which many people have appreciated, sits on only 2 acres. 2 acres. But I don't mean even if you have 50 by 100 or 100 by 100 or 2 acres, please, I always say, do what you can. And then do not look at Kachika and you draw your yardstick on Kachika. I've worked for so many years. What I'm actually helping these youngsters not to fall into the same problems that I went through, learning and losing money through experience. Because I have only been successful after going through so many holes of failures. In fact, successful people go through. But when you look at only the success that they have attained, you are losing the point. But at this extent, now youngsters know that don't buy an upper-end hybrid heifer from Kenya. I've discussed that you are going to buy a heifer, 12 to 15 million from Kenya. It is a 40 milk per day. It's good, but you don't have the experience to look after this heifer. Start with a crossbreed. And I show to them, and I say, guys, I have the capacity to airlift cows from Kenya or from South Africa. But I chose to go step. And there is also another undertaking that I'm trying to show to people, to do things in a simple way. I don't want to mention other people's farms, but there are some upper-end farms which do not allow the cameras to go there. But mine is rag-tagged, but many people say, but this is doable. I think I can do it. So you can do it based on your level. So it's not a matter of having so many hectares. And many people have asked that, and I have responded.
All right. And I think the best way to grow is to start small. That has been said over and over again. This is the time for you to send in your questions. Please make them quick so that the experts can go on and give us responses. This goes to you, Marvin from Godfrey Segwanyi. He's asking you to relate diversification with bond laddering, and please help us understand how best to do it.
Thank you. So I think that's a good question. So just to simplify it, bond laddering is more a way of spreading out your cash flows, the income from your bonds. So when you do a bond ladder, what you're doing is you can buy a 5-year bond, a 10-year bond, a 20-year bond. And when that happens, then you'll be getting probably income. Let's say some money will come in March, some money will come in June, some money will come in September. So I wouldn't say that's really diversification. You're more of spreading out the cash flows because your bonds are basically the same asset. So it's more like saying, okay, yes, you can say you diversify by buying multiple plots of land, but it's like saying you have different rentals that are in one compound that are basically, one is paying you 1 million, another one is paying you 2 million, one is 5-bedroom, one is 6-bedroom. So bond laddering is just a way of spreading out your cash flows. So at a point in time when you invest in bonds and you ladder them, or I would like to say spread them out, you'll be getting maturity, you'll be getting the money coming back after in different times. So for example, if I have 20 million and I buy 5 million, I buy a 5-year bond, then I buy 5 million, I buy another 10-year bond, and then another 5 million for 15 and 20. What will happen is that within 5 years, I'll get the first 5 million back, then I'll continue earning on the others. But what I'd advise is then you put back that money. It's not, okay, unless it's for a need, which is also reasonable. You might be doing it because you have an education need, you have something you're looking out for. That is something you can do. But then when you ladder, you're basically spreading out your cash flow, kind of spreading out your risk, because sometimes you also don't want to be in one time period. But the beauty about bonds, and which is something that I don't think many people know, is you can even sell it today. So I can have a 20-year bond and I approach the bank to sell it. And they are
So
basically...
there is always someone ready to buy.
So the bank must take the bond from you. The only way that they can prevent that is by giving you probably a price that is not so attractive. But if you're ready to sell it, there's always a bank ready to take it.
Okay. He was asking how best to do the two, diversification.
Yes. So I think in terms of diversification, then I'll probably say if you are able to, maybe different countries of bonds. If you're also able to, you can do the time periods, but I would not say that's really diversification. I would then advise have some bonds, and as Mr. Chika said, probably have some money in the farm that you have or in the real estate that you have. That would be more diversification.
Mr. Kachika, this goes to particularly you, and he's an anonymous attendee. He says, from where would you advise one to learn entrepreneurial skills? Many Ugandans do not have these. Should we blame our education system? I remember Apollo was telling us, don't blame anybody for your problems.
No, whether anonymous or not, that person has a point. Because if you can check out my post yesterday on YouTube, yesterday I got a shock when I got a call from my directors that the architect and the contractor at the premises to go and see the project that we are going to start. Little did I know, when I reached there, I found 2 of my former students who left the very school that I'm talking about 17 years ago. One is a chemical engineer turned a management consultant. Another is an architect and also a civil engineer. I think we hugged and had a very hard. You guys, made me come rushing, only to find you. I called them enemies of the state because I like joking around with. And then we hugged a great deal. And at what point, surely the education system must change. Personally, I've taken it on my shoulders to live as an example to these young people. I'll be specific. I was a teacher at Kaboja, an economics teacher and the head of the Cambridge, but all along my students saw that this is a very good economics teacher because I was showing them the economics that I was teaching them. I was practicing it. I had a fleet of commuter taxis that could flood the entire school compound on Sunday when they have come to do the service, to report to be taken for service. So the education system, principally as school teachers, should have this financial literacy. We emphasize a great deal of professions. You need to be a doctor, you need to be an engineer, you need to be an accountant. Little do we mention to these people how they should use those professions for entrepreneurial purposes. Even if you look at most of the other developed countries, which I don't want really to quote, that most billionaires are college dropouts. How come they make it? Now, you know, the system must be able to nurture youngsters to have an entrepreneurial spirit. I'm glad I've done it. I think in Uganda's or Kampala's top 10 affluent business people, I share about 5 who are my former students. And they were drawing a very good example from me. Because there I was their teacher, but I was showing them that alongside teaching, you can do business. And many of them used to come to talk to me at 14, at 15. So when there is a school farm, schools that have big projects, say, I'll be specific, like Gayaza High School, has a very big farm. The children should not only learn how to take care of the animals and to grow the vegetables and the whatever, but the children should be inspired that when you grow up, even if you have a career, have a garden at home to grow, organic vegetables for your family, but sell the others in the neighborhood. So entrepreneurial skills should be imparted to students and children at an early age.
So as we wait, because that song has been going on and on, our education system is not doing us service. So as we wait for them to sort themselves, people like you who have come out should be taken advantage of by those who are interested in learning. Also, parents should be inspiring their children or asking them should be identifying the people their children should be paying more attention to, as opposed to those that they want to pay attention to that don't actually benefit them. Another one is coming in, still to you, Mr. Kachika. What is the role of being organized and having great management skills in managing a successful diversified portfolio in Uganda? How do you manage theft and graft in your business?
Well, I think this has been asked many times. How come you are a serving teacher, a school principal of a large school, and then you go ahead to be a successful entrepreneur into this? Still, it adds to skills. You need to have a management and leadership skills. I have a very robust management style that I have, managers that are given full authority. The school does not have to be run by the headmaster every day. You can guess how I manage all these portfolios. Because I can afford to be away for a week or a month or 2 days or 5, and the institution runs. So the organization should learn to have structures. I have a pastoral department that runs the welfare of the children. I have an academics board that runs the academic. We outsourced most of the services at the institutions that I had. You know, the catering, I am not bothered. We've never had a delayed lunch because the firm that is providing the food is an outsourced. Can you imagine even cleaning? Everything. So people should adopt proper management style, modern. So I don't have to worry about food because we pay per plate to a firm whose main job is catering. Why does the headmaster has to bother about charcoal and tomatoes and onions? So I'm not bothered. So outsource. Similarly, at my farm, I give full authority. I have managers. People see on social media when I'm there literally every day. They don't know that I bump in there, and whatever I'm showing to them, I record it for 30 minutes. So when they sit one day and another day, they really think this man is on the farm every day. But how come that these things are running very well? I delegate, and I delegate with authority. I think severally, I've mentioned, I don't know how many liters of milk milked from my cows, because there is someone who is in charge. Now, what did that do to me? It saved me the burden. The milk is for paying the workers. So the manager in charge of that portfolio, just like this guy, when the NSSF performs the poorly in the equities, they told us he ducks. And then when he outperforms all other areas, because he's in an area that 1 year might have negative, the share prices plummeted. But there is another year when they'll be bullish. And then he will walk through the corridors of the NSSF as the Lion King because he gave a return of 26 or 30%. That's when the Safaricom shares on the Nairobi Stock Exchange have performed well. But you know, it is okay to have people like him and such portfolios. But not everybody will have the privilege to know about financials the way he does. And I call upon them, especially the corporate young people, to appreciate those financial products, and they are very good. But we must also develop our country. On record, my family invest into those equities and the fixed income. We are there fully with a very sizable percentage because we know that we even buy those bonds before maturity from the, how do you call them? The people who are stressed and they need to cash them. You cash them at a discount. So every single area, I'm a forester. I know the financial products and how they work, and we invest in them. On record, we sell some properties, real estate properties. When this halabalo of now I've seen condos now which have service centers are due for VAT. What percentage is it? No, I don't have to get that bother. I can get myself off that condos or whatever and go to his side. And safely, as say I've rightly advised aging people, you should have even some safe haven investment. So the issue of those fixed incomes are safe haven. But your children are not going to inherit until your last funeral rights those shares to be declared. So there must be some fixed assets, which are, you call them legend? Legacy. So I would really love someone to say that is Kachika's farm. But not only in simple terms where people are going to farming but they never cash any money. So in the bank records, they are not anywhere, but they say they have farms. So we should also have things that must. Why would we import food, milk from other countries? So there are certain things that you must do for your country. As a mature person, to see us importing milk from Southeast Asia, pastured milk, I said, no, you need to do better. So there are certain things that we must also do, not only for your personal, but you say, no, we must invest into this area. How would you feel like to see that it is foreign investors, some whites or Chinese, are the ones setting up farms? I think that is so fake. Ugandans should wake up. It's true to invest into these financial products, but we almost wake up into the key sector. We must not be fed.
We fear to take risks. There are many people who fear to take risks.
And that's why some of us are here. It's a huge risk that you take to expose, but to share to others, say for an education like me, it is a risk worth taking. I am telling you, many senior people who are even into this financial world, who have come to appreciate that, Mohammed, I never thought this can make some money. And I'm not fantasizing it to show it only the glossy way. Truth be said, is that dairy farming is profitable. And the people who have kept cows in Uganda for a long time have had an edge over others. That's why they educated their children well. Since time immemorial, even when I was in high school in the early 80s, children who are coming from the cattle corridors, they could come with the pocket money that was equivalent to our school fees because their parents were only giving them a calf. I have now over 40 young bulls available for sale. Just imagine if I had a child going to school and I say, I've given you that calf, you sell it. He would go to school with 1.2 million. But other people who have other income streams, it is difficult. But because this calf is just born and you have many, you can afford. That's why they educated their children. So some of the things that, no, we are not cattle keepers. I have come to realize that even people in certain regions can also be balalo. And they can do it so well with a lot of love that this is what we are trying to show the populace, that we can change to the changing times, grow the coffee, get involved into agriculture, be in the corporate world. I think you'll appreciate the fact that I know most of your financials, But not everybody does. So those that do not know, please stoop low to their level and lift them up, yeah, by showing them how wealth is generated, how it can be diversified. I'm into agriculture, but I have about 9 income streams within agriculture.
All right. Thank you so much. Before you even think of diversifying, you must have an income which you save to invest and then diversify much later. To you, Marvin, what is your advice to someone who is in a job or is soon retiring, and those that have already retired, as far as income generation, some ventures to grow and enhance their incomes and perhaps turn into cash flow and not depend entirely on their retirement money?
So that's a very good question, and I think it's something we do look at a lot. So Mr. Chehika, I would say is probably he has been in this space longer than I. I'm just making 10 years in a career, but I think, as you mentioned, there are different people in different stages in life. So what I can encourage the young people is that, yes, if you know that your strength is going to be in building a career, yes, do focus on that. But I think it's very important that you should know that that job may not be there every day. So as Mr. Muhammad has said, and as we all believe, is find something else to do. So when you're younger, when you say like in your 20s, you are allowed to start a farm, and if it doesn't work out, you can fail, you can start again, you can keep watching videos on like from Mr. Muhammad teaching you how to do different farms. You can take different ideas. So the beauty that we have, or that people have when they're younger, is there is more room for failure. So you can go into more entrepreneurship activities, and when you do that, the beauty about entrepreneurship, just like starting a farm, starting a business, having something on the side, and I think, of course, one of the biggest challenges that we do have when you're young is that you then have to focus a lot on time management. So as we have all mentioned, that you do not want to sacrifice your career because you have, as some people call it, a side hustle or a private business. Your time management is going to become critical. So as I grew up, I think one of the things that we had to let go of was, yes, it's good to make money, it's good to enjoy life, but at a point in time you realize, you know what, if I keep going to a job and probably going to restaurants or going out, then I'm going to suffer in the future. So instead of basically going, let's say Monday to Friday, you're stopping by the bar, you could use that extra time to build something. You could go to the farm, you could build probably, I personally, because of my expertise, I consult with people who pay me to do financial assets, so you can build some other income stream. Now, when you go to a different stage in life, for example, as you mentioned, people who are about to retire, then cash flow starts becoming more important. So when you're young, cash flow is not very important because, one, probably you don't even have children, probably you have one child, or you're paying rent of, some of us started rent of, we're even staying in hostels, you're paying about 700K, so your income needs are not high. But as you get older in life, you're going to probably be having 4 children in school. Some of them are going to start going to university. So by the time you reach that stage, you want to have built something that is generating cash flow, no matter what it is. And I think probably, it's just to clarify, equities basically is having a stake in a business. So we also do private equity, which means you're not doing it on the stock market. You're buying shares in a company, even if it's let's say dairy production company, you have your shares there, and you know that when I keep investing in this, keep giving it time, by the time I'm older, I should be able to use this income to cover something. So I'm personally not yet fully on that journey, but I'm getting to that stage where I know that, you know what, my salary shouldn't be paying for other people's needs. So my wife needs, my kids' needs shouldn't be depending on my salary. Something else should do that. So I know it could be a challenge, but ideally, if you put in the time, it's possible. Now, when you get to a stage of when you're retired, now idea that becomes, to some people are lucky enough, some have NSSF, which ideally can, if you reinvest properly, can give you cash flows. Some have built businesses, which now I think they should be giving you high cash flows. But then there are those who ideally have, as we like to call it, you have a lot of assets. Let's say you could have a square mile, but from that square mile, you're making even almost less than 10 million from it. So why should you do that? I think at that age of retirement, then you start to focus on cash flows. So part of it can be selling assets that are not generating you income and going into more income generating assets. Part of it is basically moving into safer spaces. So some of the things that we do for people who are retired is, yes, then they start investing in things like bonds. So they won't be in the equity space. They'll be more into the bond space. And also that's the reason why NSF, when invest, we give a lot of priority to fixed income, because we know we're not doing this for someone who, for a Marvin, or for someone who has just left university. We're doing it for someone who is going to be in their retirement space. So ideally, they need cash flow. We don't want to reach a situation where ideally we come to ask us for your pension and you're like, you know what, let's wait, let's go and first sell. We're trying to sell this business we have, what. We want to be able to have the cash flow. So when you get all the cash flow becomes important. I think with time, we had suffered back in the day with what we used to call the black tax. So parents had this perspective of, you know what, put everything into my kids, they will fund me in the future. But I think one thing that we have seen currently is that it's a tough marketplace. People have jobs, but people are barely surviving. So even the parents who thought that when this kid goes to school and when they leave school, they'll fund my lifestyle, the person is struggling to fund their own lifestyle. Exactly. I could say that I have grown up in a tough marketplace. I know friends, I know sisters, I know relatives who getting a job is hard, but yet they went to school. Some have masters. So ideally, you need to focus on a point where you know that hopefully in the future, you don't have to depend on your children. And how do you do that? Building something that gives you income, be it the farm, be it a private business, be it something. Probably some people have rentals, but I think one of the challenges of the rentals is that currently they're usually below 10% in return. So I think that's why I would look at spreading your risk and according to your age and profile.
Okay.
Farida, first allow me to, I love the classes. First allow me to give a high five to Marvin. The way he has explained that as you grow older, you need more
cash.
Because your responsibilities as you grow old increases. Contrary to the old belief that as you grow old, yes,
there are people who take over your
take over your roles. Two aspects. There were many, but the other one that I've just worked for 10 years, so I'm not as experienced. I want to tell you, I need to give kudos to this organization. Your position is supposed to be taken by young people. Equities. People who are risk takers. Give me 5, man. People, I can tell you, I don't know which class you are in. Nick, listen, you can Google that. Collapsed one of the oldest banks. Nick, listen, he overtraded in the Singapore stock market. I think it was 1986. Yes, Bearingsbank, the oldest bank. And he collapsed it. He overtraded it in Singapore. He was a 28-year-old who collapsed the second oldest bank in the world, Bearings. So you can now see how a forester this old man is. So, in fact, the space where you are in, the equity traders must be young. And even if I'm in charge of this organization, I would want a risk taker. Kachika is risk aversive, out of experience. But for you, you take us where Farida got her fingers burnt, but because she never went through NSSF financial series. Shares also pay off when you are in for long haul.
Yes.
If you kept them over 10 years, the same way we get our returns on real estate, because you don't put in 100 million and you start asking people that in 1 year I would have gotten my money back. So it's the same scenario with the shares. They are for long haul, but you need some risk takers like this guy here, Marvin, to risk our savings, but NSSF is doing it the right way. They give him what percentage?
Or like all the assets?
No, your portfolio.
It's about 14%.
14% they give him for his risky adventures. But they might end up, what burnt you Safaricom, burnt NSSF in 1 year or some years, but it later turned out to be, a high yielder over years. So you need to, but this thing is not onto everybody's. The problem is that these white collar people who know them speak his language. That's why you see, I have shared in a mother tongue. Many people say, they literally think this man doesn't. Yet I know, but I tried to stoop so low to pass my message clearly.
All right. When we go back to career versus entrepreneurship, Eric Lutuama here has an argument, and I'll read it as it is. Thanks for the current presenter, that is Marvin, the gentleman in blue, for bringing out Eat Right. Not everyone will masquerade to have a side hustle. A side hustle, as Mr. Kachika has said, will consume time, which time may eat away time and quality of the main job. Many fellow staff pretend that being employed by another company will never get one rich, yet they continue into that same employment, getting millions more than some people posturing over very minute businesses. Let's start to be honest. Those that should find jobs should be diligent at working for others, and those talented at starting businesses and employing others should do so. I don't know any country in the world with more investors than employees. Even the country of Warren Buffett is way below ever achieving that, and it is not worth it. It's not worth it.
Throughout my sharing with people, I've used my experience. I don't need to get the name. He's right if I pick the word masqueraders. Because as you sit, especially young corporates, it becomes a taboo amongst your peers for you not to say you have a side hustle. Then they say, that's why you don't have a nice car. Because yet they are getting the money from their employment to buy the car, but they are trying to lure others. You know, you find that, especially ladies, one is selling necklaces, another is selling shoes, another is selling biscuits to the other peers, and then saying that, but yes, I respect that. But I think that one was harsh onto running a side income generating aspect. I would task him to check me out, that I am a high performer at my employment. You can't keep your job that is contractual, renewed every after, and the results will speak. Nobody will hire and keep you if you are not performing, unless when you are in your judge's firm. But every firm will hire and keep you. So if you are masquerading, they will certainly find you out. The idea that let's stop that pretense and concentrate onto one area, probably I can say is the reason why I'm here. Because there's been a lot of talk. You know, you can't become wealthy unless when you have your own business. And that you can't be into formal employment and you have, please, whoever it is, tell him Ahmed Kachika, the person speaking, the one in blue, has done it. And has done it successfully. And not anything else is hidden. I've been straightforward with my life, and I have done it. And I'm here to encourage many, especially young people. He underscored the fact that there is a need of sacrifice. I've said it many times. Marvin here has said it. On many occasions I've said, I don't attend many weddings. I think the first time a certain TV station brought that bad statement. Tafisa, tazikata, because I think I said that to me, if the barrier is going to be very fun, it's going to take me away for 2 or 3 days. I hardly. And I've gone on record to say I've not gone on vacation. And many people, young people, slammed me. Mukoga, you know, he's a mean, stingy person. Little do they know that what I mean by vacation. Many people, I don't think you've seen most of those billionaires on vacation in Monaco. If they did, they do it in a clandestine manner. But many upcoming young people pause for a tour to Dubai as a holiday. That was a tour. 3 days, how does that become a tour? By vacation, I mean when you take your family for 2 weeks, you know, to the Maldives. And you get into the quietness of the Maldives. So that's what I call a vacation. I've not taken a vacation for over 20 years. So he might be right that some people are simply trying to impress others, that they have a side job, eating into their employer's time. But I'm on record that I'm a performer in my employment, and I'm also a performer into my private enterprise, because I nurtured it well, but it comes with a huge sacrifice, part of which is your social life. Marvin has talked about the time that you spend into the bar, spend that money to go and run your business. Now, for me, the time that I would spend on the golf course, I'm sorry, the Rotarian should take it in good faith, and the Kampala Golf Club should take it into good faith, is that walking through my forest is part of my
where
Rotary, how do you call it? The Rotary, the Rotaract, where they interact and they go. For me, I prefer to ride a bicycle through the village and all the children cheering me up and moving from one stake and giving bananas and whatever to the people who are in need. So it comes with a sacrifice. You can say my social life, I don't like that man in social life. He's always in the village. He has never posted when he is.
but you have been in the town before for so many years, and this one is just seeing you in the village right now. He doesn't know that you were somewhere else before and you really enjoyed it. I heard you talk about the cars you were driving, where you wanted to have your first plot and your family house. I've heard you. So every time calls for something different. That was from Eric, who thinks that there are people supposed to be this and that, but there are also those who can do both, like Mr. Kachika has proven with time. This is for you, Marvin. She says, in Uganda, that is Brenda Lule, in Uganda, government securities dominate the investment landscape, often comprising 70% or more of institutional portfolios. How do you assess the concentration risk this poses to the financial system?
So that's a good question. Sorry, just to defend also Mr. Muhammad here. I think the topic about sacrifice is something that shouldn't be taken lightly. Yes, to achieve what we have talked about. I can tell you, for example, some people have friends who live in the developed world, but they are so strict on how they separate their time that they know that if for 6 months I'm going to work, they are not going to be going out, they're not going to be enjoying a lot of life, they're not going to be going to the golf course. But when the 2 weeks come to go on holiday, you do not even call them, not disturb them. So I think one thing that I mentioned ideally is that to succeed in this space of having a private business and having also your career, you need to make sacrifices, but also time management is very important, because there's no way you win by doing everything. No one can do everything. You can't be the most social person, be in every
Everywhere
space
all the time,
and then also be successful in that space. But when you go into the financial instruments, he makes a fair point. So ideally in Uganda, our investment space is dominated by fixed income. But one of the reasons for this is because it's a good opportunity. So we are blessed to be in a country, unlike the developed world, where fixed income rates are to the levels of 15, 16, 17%. And this is guaranteed cash flow. So it's in UGX. What happens, the government shall have UGX. But also it is something that if you look at even global stock markets, and I don't want to go too technical, but if you look at markets in, like, say, the US, in Europe, it is rare to find a stock market that is giving you double-digit return every year. So why not take the opportunity? Take that opportunity, grow your income, your portfolio as quick as possible. One of the things that I think people fear is inflation. Yes, inflation ideally is a risk, but if it's at 5% and you're getting 17%, you're basically left with real income of 12%. So I don't think it's a major worry. The only thing that, of course, you have to think about, as we have been speaking today, is diversification. You can have 90% in bonds and think you're safe, but God forbid, if anything happened to the country, you'll be the first one to lose almost everything. So we have to think about different things. Get land. If you have business, get business. Some people are not very good in stocks, so I say stocks do not mean that you cannot invest in private business, because stocks and equities are just a stake in a business. So I can own a stake in, let's say, Safaricom, Stanbic Bank, and for me the reason is because then I don't want to be managing that company. But there are people who, like Mr. Muhammad has said, who can manage an entire business by themselves. If you're able to do that in a private space, do it. Then you have your bonds for safety, for cash flow, and something that will basically help you in the future.
Okay. Emmanuel here is taking us back. He's giving us a reality check. Investment is the goal, but how does one start with the heavy spending, with a heavy spend burden? How does one start with a heavy spend burden where citizens actually don't even have any penny left to save? How does one make this a reality? They spend too much compared to what they bring in. When do you expect them to even think about investing? Just thinking about it.
Yeah, I like such positive and realistic people and comments. And I want to, maybe Mamedi's experience is different. At the time when he started investing in Uganda, he had worked abroad and he came with his savings. So he had a big start at a certain point. But I want to give an example to figure out people to be realistic. I graduated in 1990, where the salary for a teacher was 4,000. 4,000.
UGX?
Yes. And the salary of a teacher could only buy a small towel. And we took a decision with my brother that we are not going to make our, here. We should go and work outside. And I'm not saying everybody should, because many stories are now coming from people who have worked outside. Yet there are many people who have made it here. Everyone has his own step. Now you can ask me, if you are earning 4,000, which was buying only a towel, how did you manage to buy an air ticket? Because to go and work in South Africa, I flew BA. How did I manage to raise that? I think it was about $750. And yet the exchange rate was, I think, 1,760. Because people must, work against all honesty. When people are not making any saving, Apolomboa, when he was opening up here, and I keep saying it, these excuses you will not tell them to your grandchildren. You see us, we don't have a family home, we don't have, those people have estates and the rest, because there was one thing that they call COVID. You people, you have not seen. The entire world was sealed off for 2 years. It's barely, how many years since COVID? 2020? The country was open in 2022. It's barely 2 years. Can you tell me until how many conversations have you had people saying, I am suffering because of COVID? How many people lost businesses, empires, lost livelihoods because of COVID? Now tell me, if you come, you bring your child to school and say, I am one of those people who had a very big business, but you know what COVID did to us? I'm seeing people taken to courts of law. I'm seeing properties being taken over for defaultment until loan repayment because those entities were closed for COVID. But the issue that this gentleman is telling us, and the issue of discussion today, is the diversification. Say, let me go on record that I made my biggest fortune during the COVID period.
And I've heard so many people say that as well.
I think the amount of money that I made in COVID, I'll never make in my entire life. Because this is what happened. Many people, as they were not moving and trading, construction was allowed to take place. So many people went into building, into the real estate, and the borders were closed. So I sold 90% of my forest during the COVID period and at premium prices, because the Congo border where we get our team and other space were closed. So people now people should realize the situation that they are in. That man or that person who has made that comment should, make his determination that this is my income, this is what I'm spending. Please, one should not speak for others. I don't mean they should go into unethical conduct to make ends meet. One needs, say you have this job that is not giving you this, make other means. I've seen people who have been working in space, that I was working at a farm, we were selling tiles, but when we finished, I was going to people's homes and I worked through the night fixing up the tiles. That's where I got my extra income. So I know the economic times are hard, but they have been hard even at your grandfather's space. Many people tell you, I did not go to school. Your grandfather, I did not go to school because there was no money. If money was readily available at any one given time, then it will be worthless.
And the bad times will still be here even 100 years to come. Marvin, is fixing money with banks a wise option?
That's a good question. Before I even answer it, I would say I'm not attacking any financial institution. So this is my personal theory. So I think the best bank account you can have today is a unit trust.
Is what?
A unit trust. So, for example, banks, usually when you fix money, they will give you single low digit returns, let's say 5%, 6%. And one thing people need to understand is this is their business. So they're in the business of making money. So a bank cannot start giving you 11% and then loaning out to someone at 15% and they take that difference. For them, their business model is get money cheap, lend it out expensive, or make money off it. I don't blame them for that. Now, for us as individuals, you then have to wake up and realize if I fix my money in a bank, what am I getting? You're getting single digit return. Some of it is even inflation. I know you talked about annuities, but if you look at many of the insurance policies in Uganda, and I'm not attacking anyone, many of them, when you do the math, they pay you below inflation, which I think is not fair. But if you're going to build probably capital, you're being blessed to have unit trusts that have a different model, where, for example, when you give a unit trust money, what they're saying is, you know what, if I'm getting 13% from this security, this bond, this T-bill, let me take my 2% and I give you 11%. So it's just different business models, but the good thing about it is if you want the money, it is available, let's say in a day or two. There are no punishments for breaking it. So, for example, some banks will, if you save, even if you fix money for a year, if you get your money on day 360, you could lose everything. Some of them does it. But then with this new invention, and that's why I think the world is a beautiful place, every day people try to solve problems, and this problem of ideally, let's say, financial institutions having so much power is being reduced. We have SACCOs today. SACCOs is just like group lending. So you put money in your SACCO, it pays you 10%, someone can borrow that money, you have guarantee schemes. So this has all been a thing of people have been put into a corner, and probably COVID was one of the reasons, where ideally they have been forced to become innovative. And with this innovation, we have had things like unit trust, we now even have a new product called Smart Life, which ideally should give you the same benefit, where you can save your money, access it easier, but then the way we're making probably return from it is just skimming a bit of the return rather than getting cheap and taking low. So I think my advice would be, for now, we have better solutions than FDs too.
All right. In the UK, before you invest in the capital market, you have to have been a member of an investment club for at least 6 months. What is the requirement in Uganda? To what extent does that support investors?
So Uganda is much more friendlier. I would kind of disagree with having to be in an investment club for 6 months. I did time in the UK as well, and ideally there are so many platforms. You've all heard of Robinhood. You've all heard of even the banks. You even have a Revolut. So it's so easier to invest in those countries. All you have to do is have a bank account, go on your phone, and invest. So I don't think that's possible. But in Uganda, you don't have to be a member of any society. All you have to do is basically sign on to know that you're taking the risk you're taking. So for me to buy bonds, all I have to do is go to a bank, ask them to give me the forms, set up, then I can start buying. For me to buy shares, same story. I go to a broker in the market, ask them to give me forms, and probably the many brokers, those UAP, those SBG, all these are connected. And they'll basically give you the forms to fill in, then you can start buying. So there's no restriction on buying shares and bonds.
Okay, Godfrey here is asking, how does the political risk affect the fixed assets like bonds, and how can you mitigate this risk?
So that's a good question. And I think in every investment opportunity, there is risk. So one should never take the belief that, so in finance, they say fixed income is risk-free, but it's always in quotations because some things can happen. So for example, political risk is a real risk. The way it would affect your bonds is that inflation would basically eat up your money. So if you have a bond of 10 million today and God forbid something negative happened to the country, which has happened we have seen it in Ghana, we have seen it in Zimbabwe, what will happen then is ideally that 10 million may not buy you what it used to buy you today. So if you used to get 10 million and buy a plot in Gaza, probably you will now be using 10 million to go and buy a few groceries. So that's one key risk. But what I tell people in terms of how do I mitigate that risk and how do we do it in terms of fund managers is when the chance comes to reinvest. So one of the ways that you mitigate that is that, let's say if I start with 10 million and I've been reinvesting my money for 6, 7 years or even 10 years, I most likely I can reach to a level where I have 3 times the money. So God forbid something happens, you're not going to lose as much. But as even the topic of today is diversify. Sometimes when you get income from those products, go and put into your private business to grow it further. If you get income from those products, use it to pay off debt, which is of course another major problem. So ideally, that should be the way you treat it.
I think it's you who's going to talk to us about the deal mentality, and I think this is what Mr. Anonymous here is going through. I just made 10 million. I have no job. I have some little land. Do I build a home or start a business with it? I wouldn't love to go home and stay with my parents.
That's a good
deal.
So, I think everyone has a blessing. Of course, one, I'm not sure if there's a home you can build for 10 million. So that basically for me is a no. But also another thing why I think that shouldn't be the quickest priority. I can tell you, me personally, the decision to leave the smaller place I'm in, like you have to fight me to convince me that now go and build a big house with 6 bedrooms and a view of the lake. I have to reach a point where in time I know that this is a percentage of my assets. I'm not going to go and get my 10 million, or let's say if I've saved 50 million, and put all of it into buying a house. So I would advise that person, yes, look for ways to multiply that money. If you're not yet ready, as you're thinking, which is what we talked about, save the money. One of the ways that I prevent wasting money is don't have sight of it until you know what you're going to use it for. So, for example, if we bang a deal, as you've said, and I make 10 million, I try to put it in a place I can't see it. That may be a unit trust, that might be a circle, that may be so that I cannot see it every day. So, in this point in time, you should be planning on how to invest your money, because you know life is crazy. You can have 10 million, and something can befall you. You can go out and meet someone beautiful and you start spending.
You can be on the street and somebody just grabs your bag
exactly.
and takes it
So
away.
ideally, one of the ways, what I would advise is then, if you're not ready to invest it, save it, but be planning how to generate more income from it. Right now, if you're at that stage, I do not think it's a time for you to have a big family home or try to make that a priority. The priority would be to multiply your income currently. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kachika, Philip Owundo wants you to help them understand how much diversification is enough for an average investor, because I have seen some people who have tried to diversify and lost everything altogether. How can someone diversify and remain afloat?
What's the name?
Owundo Philip.
Thanks, Philip. He's very right. When we talk about diversification, some people spread themselves so thin that they become insignificant. How I wish I had whole day, whole weeks, and whole years to explain to people. This man here, by his diversification portfolio, I've told you the 7 or 8 or 9 income streams. I diversify within the same space. Where now my dairy farm is, I think I've shown people, it was previously a coffee and banana plantation. So how does the establishment of a dairy farm takes me back to zero? When it's the same land, because as an economist, I've always known that land is a fixed asset and fixed in supply. The demand-supply curve is fixed, but I've always known that the land, though fixed, has many alternative uses. If your land, spread your risks on your 10 acres. Get some goats on one side, get a banana plantation on one side, get some food crop on another side. Is, to me, my diversification today, as per my example, is that I have diversified within agriculture. I have not bought a single acre of land, I think in the last 5 or 6 years. I reached a point that this land that I have is enough. And it is now my time for these people profit-taking or companies. It is now my time to start getting the cash out of my assets. So I diversified by using the same resources that I had, but spreading them differently. Take, for instance, the money that bought the cows and setting up the dairy farm came from the sale of trees during COVID. So how can you suffer the risk when setting up the dairy farm, I did not go for a bank loan. I did not go for an actuarist like him to carry out a study for me, but instead I used the same resources that I had to diversify. people could copy Kachika's model. Diversify within the space that you have. When I cut the trees, a forest, I replant the forest by also planting in maize, which allows me now, I'm a corn dealer. I sell a lot of maize, but I also make the cow fodder, maize silage. Isn't that diversification? Now, one of my major income sources is the selling of maize silage. I'm one of the large now seller of fodder. But that fodder is grown in the trees when that's still young. The mindset that this land, I must drain every coin out of it. I respect the collar investors. But as I say that by the time I leave, there will be some young people that will know that it came from an expert. That fixed income is risk-free, but in quotes. There are some countries, I don't want to be specific, but there are some countries, governments that have defaulted on payment. Argentina, Ghana, I think was on the verge recently. You know, when the economic times become hard, the government, they cannot totally default, but they can postpone. So that business of digging one hole to fill up the other end, it will reach when there is one huge hole which cannot be filled. Therefore, when I am diversifying my portfolios, I know the space of fixed income and how good it is, but I must put my foot there, but not the entire body. So as the financial expert indicated, young people, as you get your money from these annuities, this fixed income, learn also to look out for some other space. You know, buy some piece of land. And I fully agree with Marvin at his age not to think about big houses and consumables. Just a little bit to charm up some young people. I've not shown lavish. People share their homes, entering their homes and wild parties and the rest. I don't want to hit them hard, but I want to just... Have you ever seen that I'm showing a very lavish home with very huge... No, anything to do with the consumable. I've just shown productive ventures. The cars are just to hype up the youngsters to say, man, he's also cool. So they follow you because you're also cool. Because don't show them also the other ugly side of farming, that you must be in the sunshine and you look funny and the rest. From here, I'm going for partying. He talked about several... Yes, I'll be in shorts.
Okay.
Yes, from here. Certainly, those things are in the car.
All right.
With my team.
The time is running out for us, and before we go, Marvin, is it right to take a mortgage, and at what stage in life should I? I think it should be our last question.
Thank you for that. That's a good question. So one thing that we look at when you're doing mortgages is so people have different opportunities. Some companies subsidize. Some people are from countries where mortgages are cheap. But also the way I would look at mortgage is, as we said in the beginning, there are no bad loans. So think about the loan you're taking, because if you're getting a mortgage that is, let's say, 18%, and then it is basically taking about 70% of your salary, but even the house you bought is at, let's say, its market value. So for example, if I go and buy a condo in Kololo of $400,000, the chance of getting a buyer of that condo, they're not very many. But should there be a problem, you won't be able to easily liquidate it. But if, for example, I go and let's say, and it's not usually the best example, but if let's say someone has failed to service their debt and you have an opportunity to buy a house on the cheap, and it's, let's say, less than half of its value, I encourage someone to take it. But then also, you need to look at how much of your money you're spending on the mortgage. So that is something that is very important for people at a later stage in life, because I think let's say when you approach your 40s or when you're getting older, you do not want to be paying rent when your income has reduced. So if you're able to get a house, go for it. But ideally, you should be at a stage in life where ideally, in the next few years, I should be staying in my own home, because I don't want to be incurring an expense every month of rent and when my cash flows are not certain. But for example, you talked about the billionaires. Elon Musk sold all his real estate, but it's because he knows he will never fail to pay rent. He can wake up any day and rent any place in his life. He said real estate is not important to him because it's just basically it's holding money for him, yet he can pay rent anywhere. But we're all different. I have a career. Tomorrow, Mike, I may be reaching retirement age and I need somewhere to stay where I don't have parent, so I can prioritize that. But also, I think having a home is important, and it's something that's very important for people to have, because then you reduce a dependency on the pressures on your income every year. So I think mortgage would be probably later in life, but also look at the situation, not for buying the most expensive house, and basically not for eating all your money.
All right. Thank you so much, Marvin and Mr. Kachika. It was an honor having you guys here. And for the lovely audience, thank you so much. You have been extremely active, and we are hoping you have benefited something from this. We have tackled not even 20% of what you need to hear when it comes to investment, finances, diversification and all, but we are hopeful that you have one idea about either investment, when and how to diversify, and you also know you can, at a certain percentage, make decisions based on your age, your investment goals, and everything you need to come up with a clear line of where you want to go, or where you see yourself. I am Farida Nakaziwe, and I'll take you back. I'll give you back to Aisha, who will close this. And until next time, may God bless you.
Panel, Mr. Mohammed, Marvin, and Farida, for such a great discussion this morning. I have learned a lot, and in the back end, where we were trying to respond to the customers and the audience, there's a lot of questions that were raised. We've tried to answer some of them, and we are still answering some of them as the day goes on and the other weeks to come. My key takeaways from Farida: first of all, thank you for your level of commitment. I know you were unwell. You've made this happen. On behalf of NSSF, thank you. From Marvin, I've learned that investing in my brain is an asset. Investing in human capital, we can invest in our brains to see that we grow in our financials. So from Mohammed as well, you taught us that we can diversify in the same sector. It's something that has been new to so many of the audience from what we saw on the back end. And our goal from this discussion as a financial literacy team and NSSF, we wanted to make sure that by the end of this session, that our members live with a clear understanding of how investment works. I believe we've ticked that box. We wanted the members to understand the significance of diversification. That box has also been ticked, and how to make strategic decisions. And this is going to be based on your income, your age, and your financial goals. This conversation has cut across the board. We've kept in mind the audience and the viewers, knowing that we have members who have just started their career. We have those that are planning for retirement, and we also have those that are somewhere in between. Yeah, the conversation recording will remain on our YouTube channel, but also we would like to let you know that NSSF, to fund all these dreams that the panel has just mentioned, we have a new product called the Smart Life Flexi. It is a goal-based savings product where you can save for your short-term, medium-term, and even long-term goals. From as low as 5,000 shillings, you can fund your goals and also be able to partake of the things that have been shared from this panel. Before we close, we always request the panelists and our guests to share a resource. Is there a book, a podcast, a journal that members can look up to get more information about the things you've just shared? Maybe you could share those, and then we call it a close. We resume these discussions next year. This is our last discussion for this year 2024. I wish you a happy new year 2025, and we shall catch you then. Thank you. Please, our resources.
Personally, I'll promote one of our own, Mr. Kachika. If you haven't been following this gentleman, please, this is the time. Follow. He has a very active TikTok account. He's also very active on YouTube. He brings you reality ground. I know in this society we have so many motivational speakers, we have educators, we have bloggers, so many people giving out information that is different, and we don't know how to identify and also what to consume, filter what to consume that benefits us. Some is thrills, just thrills, while others is the real information that you need. So you can get in touch with this gentleman via his socials and you'll pick a lot from him. Trust me.
So I think personally, yes, probably I'll definitely start following Mr. Chika. I think I'm not yet that old. I'm very old, but I don't have a TikTok account. Maybe maybe I need to open one. But I've heard a lot about him, and I believe it's very important. But I personally, I think one of the things that has helped me and that I think is important is habits. So one of the books that I did read was Atomic Habits, and even to learn, for example, if I want to get into farming, the ability to just add 1% being better at something, listening to what he says, reading a book on farming, going and trying, ideally just building habits which ideally help in the future. And for example, like the member who said that they don't have money, they have 10 million, when will they get time to do that? You just have to keep learning every day. And I think idea as it's reading, but yes, you can follow different people and learn much more.
To me, life is a journey. Nobody should ever tell you, read this book, listen to this person. I always listen to my heart. I always listen to my heart. And I do what my heart tells me. So listen to your heart. Look out to other people. And principally, think and do good. I can say so at my age, but I think even when I was a young person, I still had the same perception. Listen to your heart. Do good. By listening to your heart, it will lead you. Listening to your brains, that's another thing. But listen to your heart. Yeah, not for love purposes, but for love you'll be heartbroken. But I don't get heartbroken when I find my cow dead. I just say, should we bury it? Should we give to the villagers? I calculate the risk of them saying, enteza zizika, but enteza zilimuzika. Or, don't ask, don't tell. I was not there. Let the Balaro decide what to do with it. I will not be responsible. So listen to your heart when you are making a decision. If your heart tells you, no, this is not right, that's why I'm not recommending any textbook. Whoever wants to follow me, because there are some real examples. I've put my life all and clearly, without doctoring or, So when you see that this person followed his passion and probably he reached somewhere, listen to your heart.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it. When you talk about listening to your heart, I think that's a skill not so many people have, to listen to what their inside is saying. I don't know whether there is a school where you go learn that, but it is an art that people should yearn to know or perfect. That's it, like we already said. Thank you so much for being a part of the audience. Until next year, God